Okay, welcome again to Symphos TV, and today we have a very special guest, Mr. Amit Roy. You've attended Symphos #1, it was 2 years ago, and now you're here again. You are going to be a regular guest of Symphos. I would like you to introduce yourself, because you have a very interesting background in what you have studied, in what you have done, in the countries you've lived. I think you're the best person to introduce yourself.
Thank you very much. I am, first of all, very delighted to be here. You're correct. This is my second Symphos. I attended the first, this is the second one. I am a chemical engineer, and I did my undergraduate in India. I did my graduate studies in the United States, and my work was in phosphates. My studies in graduate studies was on phosphate, the recovery of phosphorus from reject material, particularly the slime ponds in Florida. That was my work. After my graduation, I joined IFDC, International Fertilizer Development Center. It is a center that was set up in 1974 because of the need to help developing countries to produce more food.
Okay.
And I joined as an engineer, and I worked on phosphate issues, including evaluation of different phosphate rock. And thereafter, I have worked in different countries to look at different phosphate deposits and what can be done with it. And right now, I'm president and CEO of IFDC. And our headquarters is in the United States, but we have offices in 24 different countries.
24?
24 different countries
You
around.
travel a lot.
I travel a lot, that is correct. Many in Africa, in Asia, in former Eastern European countries. And the focus is how do we help the countries to produce food sustainably and responsibly. That is the important part.
To produce food sustainably and responsibly. I mean, this is really something vital. We're not talking about detail, how to feed the planet. That's really your mission, to help.
Right.
That's what IFDC does.
That is correct.
Okay.
In the 70s, our focus was to produce more calories for the people. Mm-hmm. Now the focus is nutritious calories for the people. Yeah. Nutrition is an important part of it. Right. When you look at when you look at the population growth, today is 7 billion. In 2050, it will be 9.2 billion. And we got to feed that many people, which is growing about 80 million per year. In other words, every fifth day, we have 1 million extra mouth to feed.
Do you sleep at night? When you think about that, I'm serious, because it could give you nightmares to know that we have to feed 2 billion extra people in, what, 20 years' time, even less?
That's correct. That's correct. Certainly, it's a challenge, but I do believe that human being has that idea and the drive to innovate to solve the problem.
Yes, innovate, that's the key word.
Innovate to solve the problem.
Mm. Because we cannot just extend agriculture. There are not so many virgin land, if you want. So we have to innovate.
Innovate to produce more from the same area responsibly, using less resources if possible, produce more, and then also have the surrounding, the ecosystem maintained so that we can get benefit from the ecosystem.
Okay. I would say it's a tall order. It's not an easy task.
That is correct.
Just for a detail, what is exactly IFDC from a legal point of view? Is it a free, independent think tank? Is it funded by the United Nations? Who is IFDC?
IFDC is a public international organization. It is a public international organization. It has its own board of directors.
Yes. That
are self-elected from different parts of the world, depending on where we work.
All right.
We are funded by bilateral donors, which are governments, foundations, and we are funded also by multilateral donors like the development banks and others, and also by the countries where we actually work. Okay. They also provide us funding depending on the type of work we are doing over there. So we have, and also we do a lot of work for the private sectors.
Okay.
That also funds us.
All right. Yes.
So we have
like a contract research.
Contract work, contract research,
yes.
But also providing resources from the Association of Industries that says,
okay.
you know, we like to have development of new ideas that will help not only the countries but also our members to be able to access the market.
Okay.
So we have all those models that we work with.
Okay. Now I think it's clear for everyone now. As I said in the introduction, that is the second time you come to Symfos. You seem to enjoy it. But what exactly what does Symfos mean for you? What does Symfos mean for you?
Symfos to me is an excellent forum for people from the industry, particularly fertilizer industry, to come together to share knowledge.
All right.
And this Symfos, which is innovation, to me it is a very relevant topic. Why do I say it's a relevant topic? Is because for us to achieve the goals and feed the people, we have to continuously innovate. Now this Symfos to me has been exceedingly good because here we see people coming from the same industry and to an extent competitors. They are coming in the same forum and very open about sharing their knowledge and experience with their competitors.
All right.
So to me that openness is an extremely useful way to move forward. When you share knowledge, you certainly gain a lot in the process yourself and you improve your performance, whether you're running a plant and running equipment or any other aspect. So I strongly believe sharing of knowledge up to a certain point is a very healthy.
But Mr. Roy, it doesn't really seem natural for competitors to share knowledge. I mean, competitors should actually be very wary of other competitors, that they should know things about me, I should know things about them. So there is balance here to be.
There is always a balance. There is certain trade secrets which certainly they are not going to tell you how, but then from the operations standpoint, for example, the environmental issues, the efficiency issue, there are some knowledge that is gained which sharing that is not going to take away the market from the competitors. So I think that regard, I see that extremely useful here, particularly this Symfos. And I see that sharing of information and understanding of each other is very good.
Okay, so there are not many forums like this one where all these competitors meet. There are not many of them.
Particularly in the fertilizer industry, there really is not.
Okay, so there was a need for something like Symfos.
Absolutely. In the 60s and the 70s, in the United States, they had something called Fertilizer Industry Roundtable.
Yes.
And that was set up essentially to have the operations people of the plant to come together to share experience in terms of how to overcome some operational issues. It has done its job. Today it still exists, but this one is much broader than operation because it looks at the whole spectrum. So this is extremely useful. I do believe extremely useful. Now, from agriculture standpoint, when you go overseas and other places, people take fertilizer for granted.
Yeah, absolutely.
People do not realize that 40 to 60% of the productivity of agriculture is related to fertilizer. They never question, can we have a better fertilizer? They take fertilizer for granted and say, okay, this is all we have, we got to use it better. But I challenge the notion that we need to have new products.
That's exactly what you just said is in a way, we're talking about innovation here, what you just said. But let's be philosophical for a while. You personally, what is your definition of innovation, generally speaking?
Innovation, first of all, I have to define the need for innovation. And again, necessity is the mother of invention.
Of invention, yes.
We discussed that. And we see this innovation essentially is driven by the need.
All right.
Now that's a cultural aspect and people will develop. There's also a cultural aspect which is ingrained in certain culture.
All right.
And that culture, for example, in North America, that innovation, entrepreneurship, I'm going to do better than what we have today, is always there.
All right.
Certainly, but in other places, it is essentially the need that is driving it.
Yeah, but you just, I think obviously this is clear. You say it's the need that, necessity, the mother of invention, the need, but you said yourself, there is here some cultural bias, if you want. And you just said, if I understand you well, America is a place where if there is a need for a change, there will be change. If there is a need for innovation, there will be innovation. But there are places in the world, obviously it's a very touchy subject, there must be cultures, places in the world where people do not really react like that. Would you see it for yourself as a person, maybe for IFDC, as a goal to actually also change the cultural bias against innovation? Let's put it this way, to ask people all over the world to be Americans in their head, like to react immediately, change things, innovate. Is it also something you see as a goal for yourself?
Absolutely. What I do see is very interesting, that in areas traditionally where innovation has not been a culture, today it is becoming a part of it. And why so? From my perspective, the communication technology, the information, the people are more exposed to what is possible. And you see a lot of places where young entrepreneurs are innovating. There are examples in Cameroon, for example, the entrepreneurs which are putting together from reject material the battery powering electricity.
All right, in the Cameroon, in Africa.
In Africa.
Okay, because they have access to information, that's what you said.
That's right. They're exposed to what is possible.
What is possible.
What is possible.
Absolutely.
Why can I not do it? Human being has the nature, give me the opportunity, I'll be able to do it. So they're exposed to, they're getting the opportunity, and you'll see this whole area of innovation is going to accelerate in the coming decade. Okay. I have no doubt about it. I have no doubt about it.
All right. Well, it's nice to hear. You're optimistic by nature? Or?
I see the human being, I'm always optimistic.
Okay, you're right to be optimistic. Now, let's speak specifically of IFDC. You're the boss. So what does IFDC do for innovation? Give me some examples. What do you do for innovation?
Okay. Let me start with the two pressure areas in the world where we're going to have a huge pressure because of the population growth. One is Southeast Asia, and the other one is Sub-Saharan Africa.
All right.
Going forward in 40 years, that's where the largest number of population increase is going to take place. Not only that, but there will be more urban people to feed in those two areas than anywhere else. There will be less rural people, more people are moving to the urban areas.
Yes.
So we not only have to produce more food for the urban people, but we got to move a tremendous amount of raw materials into the farm and move the farm products out to the city.
To the city.
So
yes.
we have the issue of infrastructure, and all those are there. Now, our focus has been in these two areas, although we work in other areas. Now, the problems in two areas are different. In Southeast Asia, where agriculture has been a tradition, they apply a significant amount of fertilizers and modern input. But there again, the population growth is such they are under constant pressure to produce more food using less resources in the face of climate change, less water. So our idea in that area is how can we have products and practices that will help farmers to grow more. In Africa, on the other hand, where the use of external resources is very, very low, when you take the whole continent, then the issue is how do we create environment and policies that will encourage the use and increase productivity. Okay. We realize, and as I said in the beginning, that people take fertilizer for granted. They never question, can I have a better fertilizer, although it is changing now. So given that, what we have done is created a new initiative as a separate initiative of IFDC. Is called the Virtual Fertilizer Research Center.
Okay. Virtual Fertilizer Research Center. Why is it virtual?
Our idea is that nobody has a hold on innovation.
Good.
Okay? It is a global problem. We need global intellect to find the solution.
All right.
So the idea is to connect the best minds of the world to come up with a new product.
All right.
Okay?
Okay.
So what we do is we put out a problem, give it out to the world. They come with the idea, well, you know, I know how to solve no matter where, and we give some seed money to flesh it out. And then if it looks good, then we go with the inventor to other places too. So that's why it's called virtual.
Virtual, because it's on the internet, in the whole world. It's not bound to a place.
Bound to a place or an institution. Although it is a part of our institution, it still is a semi-autonomous unit with its own board of advisors.
All right.
So it is a virtual, essentially challenging, let's come up with a new product.
So that's one of the things that IFDC does for innovation.
Right.
Probably you do other
And
things.
this is for product, and we are also looking at practices. Is another innovation that we are doing. In Asia, for example, we have a practice of improving efficiency of nitrogen fertilizer and other fertilizer use in rice production, where the results you're reducing nitrogen consumption by nearly 35%. You're still getting 15% more yield. And this technology is taken off very rapidly all over Asia. It is also in Africa.
All right.
Is that the ultimate solution? It's not the ultimate solution, but it's a step in the right direction.
All right.
We also have the issue with phosphorus. Morocco, here we're in Morocco, which has the largest reserves of the world phosphate reserves is in Morocco. And it is an extremely good phosphate deposit here. Now the issue is this whole idea, are we going to run out of phosphorus, which we don't believe. There's enough phosphorus in the question. But the question is, how can we use it more efficiently so that we can have enough of it going forward for generations to come?
Yes.
So how can we improve the efficiency of this?
Yes.
And in that regard, we're launching the global TRAPS. That means sustainable phosphorus management using a method called transdisciplinary process.
Right.
And the process is where people from science and from practice can sit together with different views and ideas to come up with a solution.
Okay.
And the idea is to appreciate the otherness of the other.
Okay.
We have conflicting views.
Yes.
That doesn't mean we cannot sit to find a solution.
Okay.
So that's what we're doing for phosphorus.
Right. But tell me, just because you're talking about phosphorus, and then you said in quite quickly that we do not believe this about
The peak phosphorus, yeah.
peak phosphorus. But a couple of years ago, there was this hype, let's call it a hype. Suddenly, everywhere, in Norway, Australia, everywhere, people were publishing papers on phosphorus peak, and in 20 years' time, there will be no phosphorus anymore, and there were also political implications. IFDC, I don't know, did you change your point of view, or was it always your point of view that there will be no phosphorus peak in the foreseeable future? Or were you also a couple of years ago concerned about that? How did it go?
Well, you know, we always believe that the reserve and resources are a dynamic number.
Yes.
It depends on price, it depends on technology.
Absolutely. The
combination of technology
and price.
That defines the reserve and resource.
Reserve and resource, absolutely.
Okay, a case in point is fracking in the United States.
Obviously, when the price of gas suddenly dramatically, spectacularly dropped, yes.
Yeah, and why did it happen? Because of a new technology.
Yes. Suddenly this technology appeared.
And suddenly we have gas prices drop, we have more reserve. We always believe that there's enough phosphorus. The question becomes, you know, there's all the question of access, question of grade, yes. That is always there.
Obviously.
But the industry were able to adapt to this changing grade and be able to process lower grade material. Certainly there were some challenges to it, there's no question. We always believe that there is enough phosphorus. The question is, you know, as there is demand for more phosphorus, more people are going to go out to look for phosphorus. Yes. And you see more deposits are being discovered, yes. And put together. That's the first thing. And secondly, we always believe the phosphorus is an element that you don't destroy. We as a human, we use it and it dissipates in the environment. It never gets destroyed.
Never did, but it ends up in rivers.
It never. So 2,000 years from now,
yes.
our technology will be such that we will be able to extract phosphorus from the river because our technological innovation is going to be in the same vein as the fracking.
Yeah, okay.
So we're not destroying phosphorus.
Yes.
We are essentially dissipating it in the environment.
And we come back to the subject of innovation because, in fact, the technology had to evolve, innovate in order to go and look for that atom of phosphorus.
That's right.
To find it even in the river and bring it back. We're still talking.
The technology is innovation. So going forward, we continuously have to innovate.
Let me tell you something about IFDC. You're talking quite rightly about Africa, about Asia, because demographics and things like that. And I have the impression that IFDC, maybe I'm completely mistaken, that's not actually present in Europe, for instance, or in America. Do you actually do something in Europe and America, or are you just active in what used to be called the third world?
Well, you know, our mandate is developing country.
Development, well, because the D in IFDC is development.
Yeah, development is developing country is our focus, but there are countries which are also graduating from developing country to middle income country and others. So, you know, they graduate. You have countries in Latin America which were developing country in the 79. We did a lot of work, but they have now graduated.
Chile,
Argentina, Brazil, Colombia. You know, they have moved on to where they can solve their own problem. And they have their own research capabilities. And we'll see that, I'm very sure, in Africa as well. There are countries which are beginning to come up, and there will be. And I'm very hopeful it will happen.
But in a way, it's like your job will be redundant. If everybody graduates, they don't need you anymore. But maybe
our definition of success when we're out of a job.
That's good. That's a great definition. I will just end, because we have only 5 minutes. I will just end by asking you, you see, you have given us a very optimistic view of the future, and you say the word challenge and innovation and technique. Well, but there are also people who are not that optimistic, who say there are some horror scenarios where we will not be able to feed the 2 extra billion people. Can you just, that's really the last question. Can you give us, again, a reason for being optimistic?
The reason I'm optimistic is, if you look at the food production over the last 40 years, there is always doom and gloom that Asia, the Bangladesh, and India and other places are going to be basket case, and they will always rely on handouts from the Western countries. Today they are self-sufficient. If you look at India, not only they are self-sufficient, it's exporting.
Yes.
Does it have challenges? It has challenges. Yes. And if you take that as an example, we continue, and if you look at the trajectory of the food production, the trajectory is in the right direction. We're producing more food every year. Yes. Certainly the population is increasing, but we are still producing more food. If we focus and put our attention to production, I'm very optimistic we will achieve our objective. There's no question.
It's very interesting because, you know, you're also a big Indian, Professor Amartya Sen,
sure.
Another glory of India, Nobel Prize winner. In fact, he says, I don't know if you would agree with this, that the fact that India was able to solve the problem not by technical innovation, but by democracy, by introducing rights for people. What would you think about
governance? Has a very important part in terms of food security. There's no question.
Yes. Yes.
You know, the governance in terms of openness, in terms of having information out, certainly is a very important part in terms of achieving those things. If you give the people the tools, that democracy is the way to give them the tools to be able to achieve some of the objectives. So I totally agree with that. Totally.
But it's not part of your mandate.
It's not a part of our, although it does impinge on our work in many parts of the country, because the governance has a direct impact in terms of development of markets.
Yes.
With the right policies, and the incentive
yes.
is very fundamental part of increasing productivity. If you have the right incentive, the farmers are going to be out in the field, using the right input, producing it, and be able to see that I can get it to the market and get an income to be able to have a better life. So.
Yeah, okay. Just one last personal question. Do you do some teaching? Because I think you would be a great professor. Because you radiate optimism.
Well, I haven't.
Do you do some teaching?
I do go to many conferences.
Conferences.
And do make presentations and certainly give interviews and that kind of thing. Yeah, sure.
Okay, thank you very much. It was
Thank
very,
you.
very nice having you.
It's a pleasure.
Really, thank you.